Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and whoever the hell else is up this late. It is a Friday, though, and it's only 10 o'clock. Eastern, at least. So if you are in any other time zone in the country, then you are in a pretty good spot because it's earlier than 10 o'clock. I am starting late because reasons. We'll get to those reasons shortly, but without any further ado, welcome to the Daily Rocket for January 15th, 2016. Of course, as is tradition with our Friday episodes, we are going to be bringing you the NA Power Rankings. So, let us get down to business. Looks pretty good. I think we're in pretty good shape here. Hair's a little messed up. It's alright, though. I had a really interesting time on the Gfinity side of things earlier today. Just in case anybody managed to tune in for that. Incredibly exciting Gfinity tournament today. Filling in for Freezing Wolves on his channel. So if you got a chance to see that, I hope you did. If you didn't, well, I feel bad for you. So, too bad, so sad. But without any further ado, we are here to, of course, start things off by talking about the NA Power Rankings. Once we get through this week's Power Rankings, we're going to dive into some other interesting stuff, such as the news that came out from Psyonix, and whatever else. You know, whatever else comes up. That's the fun part. So, I think now is a good time. So, let's get to it. Let's see who our top 10 teams in North America are this week. So, a quick little update, just for everybody, so that you're all kind of in the loop on what's going on. We have begun taking some of these submissions for the EU and NA Power Ranking Committee and putting them through the test. Basically, you know, taking them out, seeing how they handle doing a proper ranking week to week. So this week, I took a step back from doing the NA rankings. I normally don't do them, but I'm going to start doing them normally. But I took a step back because we had 2 folks in and a good 5-person committee on NA. And I think 5 is a good number. You want to have an odd number of people so that you have the least amount of opportunity for ties. So that's the ideal situation. So Softgoat and Billyscape were brought in to test their mettle and you know, see how they fare when they have to face a legitimate, honest power ranking. And I think they did pretty well. You know, looking at the list here, having the growing familiarity with the NA scene that I do, I think we are in a pretty good spot. So, without any further ado, I think it's time to get down to business and let us talk about the top 10 teams in North America for this week. So, we'll kick things off, of course, with number 10, and coming in at number 10 is Voltage. So Voltage starts off our top 10 this week. Very solid team that I have seen play a few times. You know, even though I do a lot of my shoutcasting for NA or for like the very top tier of NA. Sorry, I do a lot of my shoutcasting for EU and like the very top tier of NA. So there's some teams that I don't necessarily get to see a lot, but Voltage is one that I've had the opportunity to watch play. And they are honestly a very solid team, able to draw a lot of good results out of their opponents, get some pretty solid wins. They've still yet to really, like, thrash those mid-range teams and own a higher spot in the power rankings, but this is a good start for them. It's a good place for them to come in here and really just kind of make their presence felt. Of course, one of the more well-known players probably on Voltage now is Subin, who we talked about his car tier list on yesterday's Daily Rocket. So, you know, getting back into here, they ended up getting a win over SNK, a 3-0 win, by the way. So that has a lot of weight to it. They also got a win over Foremost, who beat Failure to Launch, one of the RLC Pro League teams. But, you know, everything they did, and this is, of course, again, just like the EU rankings, all of these results are fed over the course of the entire break. Like, the entire time that we didn't do a power ranking, we still watched the results and tried to factor those into these rankings, and now they're back on a weekly basis. So, hopefully there will be less of a delay in the future for any particular reason. Again, the holiday season may still be a point where rankings are hard to come by due to lack of play. But we'll see, because that might not be the case this year. There may still be a lot more tournaments this time around. We'll find out what happens. But in any event, Voltage entering the top 10, returning to the top 10, as a matter of fact, and getting into their nice little spot here. So let's move on to number 9 on this week's power ranking, Turbulence. So Turbulence getting into the power rankings mainly based off of their results through ESL. Obviously, that's one of the things that a lot of NA players, NA teams really have to deal with. There's only a few decent venues for NA teams to really test their mettle. EU has so many more options. You've got ESL, various ESL tournaments, Gfinity, IRCL, and of course the RLC Pro League. Whereas there's only they don't have Gfinity on the NA side, of course, and ESL only has one event. And so there's not a lot of good opportunities, outside of ESL for a growing team to really establish themselves. But that's what ESL is for teams that aren't high level, like the highest level, but are still good enough and to really get a chance to prove what they're capable of. So, Turbulence again had a pretty good run this past week. ESL was probably their big takeaway going out of this. And their team consists of Matt, Turtle, J-Raw, and Air. So, they are one of those teams that I would say is probably capable of being a Pro League team, but they've got, that's kind of the next big step for them, is to get some wins against that level of team and prove that they can hang. Because, if the RPL goes again, if we get a Season 2 out of this, then there's going to be a big chance for some of these teams to, nudge their way in and become a big factor there. So it should be very fun to see how that all pans out going forward. So Turbulence in at number 9. Coming in at number 8, Moonmen. Moonmen are going to drop a couple of spots this week based off of their latest performance. So, basically, all we've seen from Moonmen lately, and we've seen this from a couple teams across the world, is just a lack of performance, a lack of results, a lack of anything, Moonmen, we last saw them in the RPL qualifiers. They played in the monthly final and beat Sustenance, but then lost to Nexus. And they're, that's not enough to go on with Moonmen. And one of the bigger reasons that they're down here is because of every other team above them who has been doing things, or is at a level where you can't really justify moving them out of there. So that's what's going to happen. So Moonmen has some work to do, mainly showing up. They've got to come back, they've got to show what they're capable of, and get some wins under their belt. And I think they can climb back up these rankings no problem, depending on how things go. So Moonmen in at number 8. A little bit of a dip from where they were before, but that goes to number 7, SNK Apollo. My boys from SNK coming in at number 7. That is up one spot from last week's, or the last NA Power ranking. So, in this spot, basically, they've had a few pretty decent runs lately, a few solid wins, but not enough to really bump them up the charts. We saw them take a couple of games off of Nexus in the Pro League, so that was a bit of a slightly unexpected result, all things considered. And I think right now, as far as SNK Apollo goes, there's a lot of talent there, and a lot of potential, but there's drive that seems to be holding them back from getting a little bit further and putting in the extra energy and effort that it takes to kind of nudge up further in the rankings. So it's a good it's a good movement for SNK Apollo to go up. Now there's also a lot of movement involved here due to the end of other teams. In particular, one of the teams that was normally on here that's not is Mad Magic 2.0. They disbanded recently. That, of course, affects what teams make it onto this list. So, big change there. But in any event, SNK does have a little bit of work to do to move up here. And with that, we go to number 6, Failure to Launch, who also has moved up one spot this week. Failure to Launch, a Pro League team, as you all know, who has did not do a lot to stand out in their first Pro League match, but they were put up against IBP Cosmic, and most teams who face IBP Cosmic, especially if you're at a point where you're crawling your way up and fighting your way up to the rankings, they're going to have a hard time, a very hard time. And Failure to Launch, what I will say about Failure to Launch is they did have a hard time getting through everything, but they looked pretty good doing it. You know, they didn't get any wins, and if you look back on it, kind of expected if you were to put those two teams side by side. But what I will say is that they really did play pretty well. You know, they obviously didn't play well enough to win, and Cosmic was able to get around them. But there were little things that I was watching through that game, because I did have the fortune to cast that, and fortunately enough, I will be able to shoutcast it for the the RLC Pro League this Sunday. So we'll get to see them in action again, as well as many of the other teams on this list. And I'll be eager to see how they fare against a team that's not quite Cosmic. So we'll see how that goes, just to see if anything changes, if they've changed anything around. But either way, I don't know where Failure to Launch is going to sit throughout the rest of the Pro League, but we will see in due time, correct? In due time. So with that being said, that is going to have us move into the number 5 spot, Orange Creamsicle. So no movement on the part of Orange Creamsicle this week. They ended up getting their first round bye in the RLC Pro League, so they don't really have a lot of playtime, like many teams. And this was a problem we faced not just in NA, but also EU, where a lot of teams didn't have anything to go by, but it's not quite fair to tank their rating just because they didn't play during a holiday break and when there was really no competition to play in, you know? So, can't fault them too hard, but the biggest thing is they're going to have a rematch coming up against Nexus from the RPL qualifiers, which took place. And it could technically cause some movement in these rankings, because they are 4 and 5. So, you know, they are 4 and 5. There you go. So there could be a little bit of movement in this rankings if Orange Creamsicle gets a solid enough performance against Nexus. So, obviously we'll take a look at a lot of things when that comes down to it, and we'll see how it all pans out. But with Orange Creamsicle in number 5, again, as we said, Nexus in at number 4. So the last few major things that Nexus has played in, they've had a sub filling in, either for Waffles or for Pluto, and it's usually, I believe it was Insolences who filled in for them? Yeah. So Insolences was the sub on the Nexus side who filled in for those players respectively. Now, Nexus had a tremendous best-of-7 series against Kings of Urban in the ESL Monthly Final, but later in that series, they kind of fell apart, and Kings of Urban kind of ran roughshod over them. And they scored really high goal gains, had a lot of, you know, the momentum tilted big, you know. It was a 3-1 series. They were 1 win away from taking the series, and then Kings of Urban just came back and went mental. So, it was a huge performance by Kings of Urban. But as far as Nexus go, they had a little bit of a hard time. They did end up taking 3 games off of SNK Apollo in the Pro League, and some pretty decent wins all throughout the rest of the way. Now, as far as Nexus goes, their match against Orange Creamsicle is going to be good for them to finally face off against an opponent around their area in the rankings. just to see how they're going to fare, if they've got that rhythm, you know, if they've got that old Nexus / untethered look and feel to them. So hopefully this Sunday we will have a full Nexus team. No excuses, no subs, no replacements, just their normal forward three, the usual team, and I'm hoping that that's what we get, so we can get some interesting stuff out of it. So now, with Nexus done, before we go into the top three, I wanted to talk about the change here. So, as a lot of you may know, in the previous power ranking, there was a three-way tie for number 1 between IBP Cosmic, Not, and Kings of Urban. I will say this week, if you haven't seen the rankings yet, there is no three-way tie. There are no ties at all. Just the top 3 in order. So, without further ado, number 3, Never on Target. Technically, they dropped 2 spots here because they were tied for number 1, but their performance compared to their opponents kind of justifies why they're in number 3. Obviously, they lost 3 of the 5 games in the Pro League against Kings of Urban this past Sunday. They were in a place where, you know, if we look at everything else as well, they ended up, I believe, losing to IBP Cosmic in the IRCL. And those 2 wins, for obvious reasons, have to put them at number 3. You know, when you've got 3 teams, or when you've got a team in particular, who is a number 1 caliber team, but has immediate losses to the other 2 teams they were tied with, what are you going to do, right? You know, just like in the RLC Pro League, head-to-head is important, and head-to-head counts on the pro rankings as well. The power rankings, I don't know what I was saying there, the power rankings as well. So, Never on Target, otherwise known as Not, are in 3rd place. So, Not, ranked in 3rd place. So, there you go. Now, that takes us to our final big decision. Kings of Urban and IBP Cosmic. Obviously, the final 2 teams on this list. And what it comes down to is who should be number 1. And both teams have similar wins over the number 3, Never on Target. So you can't really look at that. And they don't have direct competition this week. So you can't look at that. And that's probably why it was such a close finish, so to say, between these 2 teams. So without any further ado, I guess let's get down to business. Number 2 this week, Kings of Urban. So Kings of Urban, coming in at number 2, I believe 2 of the 5 members of the Power Ranking Committee put Kings of Urban at number 1. The other 3 put them at number 2. And it was vice versa for Cosmic. So it all came down basically to that one ranker, whichever one you want it to be. It came down to one ranker who decided that Cosmic was the better team over the course of these several weeks. So, you know, a lot of wins here, a lot of comparable wins to Cosmic. I mean, it's not really a mystery, obviously, but a lot of comparable wins to what Cosmic did, and it really just came down to that one decision between one person, and there's justifiable reason to put Kings of Urban at number 1, but the averages put him at number 2, and of course, Cosmic in at number 1 this week. No real shock there. Coming off of a huge steamrolling win in the Pro League, 5-0 over Failure to Launch. They beat Not. You know, they've got some good wins back under their belt. And as it stands right now, because there were 5 rankers, and because of the way they were ranked individually, there was no tie here. And that's why I like having an odd number of rankers on a committee. You know, that's why I didn't rank any teams this week, because I would have probably put Kings of Urban at number 1. Honestly. You know, they had the big win over Not. It's a harder opponent than Failure to Launch. It was comparable to what Cosmic did. And I don't know, it would have been something I would have looked at like really closely. And if I did put Kings up there, then we'd have a tie. So now we didn't, and this is what we got. But, you know, that's the beauty of the power rankings. So maybe this week, with a little more different competition, things can change. You know, maybe Kings of Ribbon will get the edge here. So, interesting stuff, but there it is, your top 10 for this week's NA Power Rankings. I am sorry that this is so late tonight. Usually I would do this at around 8 o'clock Eastern. I did not do it at 8 o'clock Eastern because of Gfinity. I brought the EU Gfinity tournament this week alongside Shogun, one of my favorite people to cast with, no doubt. And, you know, I look back on it and I think it didn't feel like my best night casting, but I still had a good time. Some people probably didn't enjoy it as much as others, and that's fine, you know, do what you want. So, it's all good. It's all a bunch of whatever, man. That's the way I look at it. But in any event, I had a great time. I'm glad I was able to do Gfinity again. It had been a while, all things considered, but good times. So anyway, now that we've talked about the power rankings, let us talk about the latest news. I think the biggest news, really, and that's the latest game update. So we saw some game update information come out, and let me get the exact link because I don't want to recite anything improperly. I think that's the takeaway here. Let's do this as accurately and properly as possible. This is the latest RL News update. And, oh, thank you very much, Woody. And thank you for still being awake. I'm sure it's really late for you. Wow. It's like 3 a.m., right? Something like that, 3:30? But, in any event, I stay up that late all the time, so it's no big deal. Okay, so, what do we know? What is the big news that they talked about? Well, the big news they covered was... of course. Yeah. Was the reveal that the Season 1 of the Ranked Ladder is coming to an end with the next patch, and that next patch is due sometime in February. We also know that Snow Day will be added to the private match listings in February when that patch drops. So, you know, good stuff coming there. But with that is going to be the rewards that are going to come for anybody who's played Ranked and has any rank at all. And you will get special crowns. So special toppers for your car that are fancy crowns, whether you're bronze, silver, gold, or platinum. They'll be very fancy and cool little crowns. And you will get it for the highest rank you have. So if you are, you know, platinum in solo 3s and only gold 3 in, or just gold in 2s, you'll get a platinum crown. In my case, I am bronze in ranked 3s and nothing in anything else. So I'm going to get a crown. Thank you, Mike and Marky. That's all I have to say. Before I get into that, I'm a shoutcaster. I have shoutcasted more hours of Rocket League than I can even remember. Some days I have on days. Some days I have off days. I felt like this might have been an off day. I couldn't get my head around my words sometimes. But Sunday, I'm going to be on and on fire. You're going to see the finest shoutcasting from myself, from Shogun, and from the Pash this Sunday, RLC Pro League. You know it. Anyway, back to the news. So, you're going to get a fancy crown, and the crown will be the highest rank you have. And that's the crown you'll get. So with that, they also announced item qualities, which means now, I guess they're just doing a different way to unlock items and get them in the game. But first off, they're basically setting quality levels. If you've ever played an MMO of any kind, like World of Warcraft or whatever, or even games like Diablo or an RPG, then you know that some items, or some games, have items that have different colored names, and that fits them into quality settings. So, in Rocket League, the stock items, the basic stuff, is all gray quality, common. Everybody has them, everybody gets them, nothing special. Premium, or green, are the DLC things. So only items you can get through DLC, as I'm sure a lot of you have, you probably all have them all. Limited are orange items, and these are only the limited time things that you can get through seasonal events and promotional events. So alpha and beta rewards, Halloween things, Christmas things that you can't get anymore, then you'll be able to get them through here. So with that, they're also going to be adding a uncommon, or light blue, class. And these are going to be rare drop items that will come through playing online matches. So you have to play online only, you can't just farm, exhibition against bots. But basically, the longer you play, the better chance you'll have to get these uncommon items. So I'm pretty sure that means Seismic White already has them all. But in any event, basically it starts as soon as you start playing, and then you get an item and it resets. So basically, the more you play, the more chance you have to get them. Pretty fair. It's not just a flat drop rate. But more details will be announced next Friday, January 22nd. So stay tuned for that, and you'll get the updates, further news and updates. And they're also going to talk about changes being made to competitive play in Season 2, which I'm sure a lot of people are very interested in. Tournament mode, tournament mode, tournament mode. Anyway, with that being said, so some pretty interesting and big news coming out of Rocket League today. Speaking of which, I want to give big thanks to whoever operates the Rocket League Twitter handle, and just really big thanks to them for spreading the word about Gfinity today and ESL this past Thursday, and just all that stuff. And the effort they put in is really huge, so good times. But anyway, so that's the news I wanted to talk about. And let me say, if you haven't watched the finals of today's Gfinity tournament, go to Freezing Wolves' channel when this is done and fire up that VOD, and you watch those, because that is some superb Rocket League. Like, superb Rocket League. But in any event, with that being said, with that being done, let's move on to my favorite part of the day, the open Q&A. So, if you have questions about the power rankings, about the NA scene, the EU scene, the game itself, anything, go ahead and fire away, ask your questions. Now is a good time. So, start it up in the chat. In fact, I'm going to... Oh, I'll just leave it on here. Never mind. That's fine. You know what I will do is I will turn on... do I have an alert thing here? Don't know if I do. Yeah, I don't know if I have my alert box here. Oh well, that's fine. Is Amoni a new sub for Cosmic? I believe he is for the Pro League, but I don't think it's anything full official after that, but I think it's just a Pro League sub thing. Scrubkilla is the true MVP. He crushed it today. Why did I what? I don't know what you're talking about, Woody. You're confusing me. Why can't you score more goals? Cause you aren't. You gotta get good. Get good. I mean, Scrub just raised his stock value after his performance today. So, if teams that are in need of a third aren't looking at Scrubkilla, excuse me, then they better start doing it. Like, seriously. Let's see. Shogun and O'Neal. What an interesting team. It's like half good and half I did know Scrub was 12, yes. I do know that. Oh, okay, better question. Where would I put Team Rocket on this power ranking if they were a US team? Good question. After today, like, I would probably give them... let me look here. I would probably put them in 8 or 9. Somewhere in that vicinity. Today was a very good day. You guys look great, by the way. Like, legit. You guys did awesome. Who are the people that make this power ranking list? Normally it is Cloudfuel, Durkin, and Gibbs from Cosmic. But this week we've also been introducing new trial run members of the committee. And that is Softgoat and Billy Scape, who were also members of the committee. So those 5 people did these rankings this week. Scrub have the potential to be one of the top 3 players in the world. Potentially, absolutely. He's only 12. I mean, there's a whole life ahead of him to become an even better player. So yeah, I'd say so. I mean, you don't have to go to bed. You can do what you want. You're an adult. It's the weekend. Do what you want. Be a Mayan. All right, I think I've caught up on most questions. Favorite player to watch that isn't on a top 5 NA or EU team and isn't a free agent? Okay, so outside of that, I would say, who isn't a top 5? I like Remco and Mystic. They're I don't think Spectral's in the top 5 right now. I don't remember the rankings off the top of my head. So both Mike and Marky are number 1, so I can't really judge them, but yeah, the members of Spectral are particularly fun to watch. I can't really put Mystic or Remco above one another because they seem to have their own on and off moments, but they're all like they tend to do that same stuff. That sounds about right. 7th place. Yeah. Is Supersonic Avengers going to take Scrubkilla, and if they do, will they keep ELMP or kick him? I think ELMP is the captain of Supersonic Avengers, so I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't think they're going to kick ELMP because, let's be honest, ELMP on that team is a devastating force. When they're on, they are on fire. You know, I can't judge this team based off of this one tournament and say that this is the kind of performance you're going to see week over week. But I can say how well Supersonic Avengers plays because how well they have played week over week. They've had a bit of an off week, no denying that. But I think they could potentially come back with their normal squad. Oh, I do have alerts, and they are up. Kuniv, thanks for the follow. Anyway. Alright. Gibbs created the power ranking committee. So, this was his idea. And he, you know, you can say conflict of interest. Hell, you could say I have a conflict of interest. I'm the team manager for SNK Esports. But there's no benefit to, you know, saying your team is better than they are, and there's really nothing you can do about that. Oh, hey, Mystic. Thank you for the follow. I was just talking about you. You know, if Gibbs says, oh, IBP Cosmic is number 1, when they're clearly not, then the other 4 people on the committee are going to be like, no, they're clearly not. You're an idiot. And they're going to tank him. So, you know, Cosmic is still one of the top teams in NA, if not the top team right now. You know, arguably it's number 1 and 2, you know, between them and Kings of Urban, back and forth. Whoever you think might be number 1 is number 1. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any kind of conflict of interest, especially like, you know, like Cloud said, Gibbs put Kings of Urban at number 2 this week. He was one of the 2 that put them at number 2. Or he put Cosmic at number 2, whatever, and put Kings at number 1. So. Do I think Rocket League tournaments or Rocket League ESL tournaments are ever going to be as big as Counter-Strike in one big studio with the players side by side? I do, and that's basically a LAN event, what you're talking about there. I think it will be that big, definitely. You know, give it a little bit more time. Things are starting to warm up, and I think you're going to see it on a big scale. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Alright, so any other questions? Again, we are an open Q&A part right now. If you have any questions about the power rankings, whether it's NA or EU, the competitive scene, the game itself, or whatever else, anything. If you have any questions, fire away. Now is your time. My hair is like all flying everywhere. Whatever. It's fine. I don't even care. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with Woody. We just need teams like Optic to form. Well, here's the thing. The big orgs, like the big players, Optic, Cloud9, EG, Liquid, whatever, they're not going to get into Rocket League until there's a scene worth supporting. And it's getting there, it's growing, but we're not even near where we need to be for those big players to get involved. Like, there has to be legitimate money in this scene, and there's not right now. You know, despite what we're doing in the Pro League, with all we're doing with a $1,700 plus prize pool, or $1,500 plus, whatever it's at right now, then, you know, that's great, and that's awesome. But we're still way behind where we should be. So. Do you think Kronovi or Kuxir is better? I kind of feel like Kronovi is. But it's a little hard because he's like the star of Cosmic, whereas Kuxir is kind of the third place guy on Flipside because of just how strong that team is and how strong those players are. But I'd probably still say Kronovi in that case. What tips would you give to teams in the 16th to 25th place to break into the rankings? It's all about wins. It's all about performance. Like, I can't say what's going to help you win. You know, only your teams are going to know what those things are. But you have to play in tournaments, as many as you can, play against the teams that are above you, and beat them. You know, that's really all it's about. Get big wins, show that you're deserving of being in the rankings, and any team can do it. We see teams come into the rankings all the time that have never been there before, especially on EU. That place is madness. Help me. Well, okay, maybe I phrased that wrong. I don't think we're anywhere behind where we would need to be as a scene. I just mean, like, in order for those teams to be interested, we're not where we would need to be to get them interested. For a scene, for a competitive scene, Rocket League has blown up. Like, we were launching really fast, really far, and a little too quickly. We started to kind of outgrow our own britches here. But we did get back into things, and I think in the months to come, we're going to start to see a bigger scene to support everything we're doing. So, I can definitely see that. Hey, it's Kevin. That's a good emote. Let's see. I dropped a few frames. That's strange. I don't know why. Oh well, no big deal. Well, while I'm waiting on some more questions to come in, let me just say, if you weren't here yesterday, I am starting a new donation initiative that if you want me to say anything, like record a soundbite for your stream, for your follow alert, or something like that, I will record just about anything up to 30 seconds in length for a donation of $5 or more. That was something I had started up yesterday. So the option's there if you feel like doing it. Just leave a note in the donation message, either with what you want me to say, or with, you know, whatever, if you want to reach out to me in a different way. to have me record something. So the problem with the Geico tournament is there was no publicity for it. Like, none. I only knew about it because other people who were within ESL told me about it. That's it. I never saw like any big posts about it or any publicity or advertising. You publicize something and people will show up for it. So the Geico thing was unfortunate because I hope it didn't burn them on Rocket League. What is your favorite car? Excuse me. I like the Scarab. When do you think a LAN event is going to happen and the prize pool? What would the prize pool need to be? I don't know. I expect or hope that we'll have our first LAN event by Q3 this year. The sponsors have to be drawn in by the viewers, not the prize pool. They're going to be the ones who provide the prize pool. So, unless you mean orgs, in which case, we would have to start regularly having 5 or 6 digit prize pool tournaments to really get some of these big teams involved. Where would I put IBP if they were an EU team on the power rankings? Probably 2 or 3. I mean, I've already seen, like, in the latest international competition, they were number 2. So, probably something in that range. Yeah, ranking EU is mental. Like, it is so much more dense with competition. Yeah, there was a Geico tournament, but it wasn't for any pro players, it was for streamers and stuff. So. Yeah, there is that LAN event in Australia. We obviously, the LAN events I refer to are like major competitive events with the best players in Europe and NA, because those are really the two big competitive scenes right now. So that's what I think I would consider, you know, a proper LAN event. If I could make one roster trade between 2 Rocket League teams, what would it be? That's a good question. I would probably say, just for the fun of it, I would switch Kronovi and Cooks here. Because everybody asked me about those two. So let's put them on the other teams. Let's see how they fare. That would be a true test of how good those players are. Or I'd put Marky on Team Rocket. And put... I don't know. Put Woody on flip side. Where would you put OC if they were an EU team? Orange Creamsicle? That's hard. I would probably put them 8, 9, maybe. That's a lot trickier of a question. When you're getting into the middle, it's a lot harder to gauge that. But I love drafts. Speaking of which, Cloud EU draft, we got to get on that because I'm getting antsy. I need me some pro draft tournaments here. Kooks, there's no real role on flip side, so I couldn't even announce that. They don't have roles. They all play different things. They all play striker, they all play midfield, they all play defender. So there's no role like IBP has. Hey, fell for you. Thank you for the follow. If I could make the top 3 teams in NA from any NA players, what would the team be? So like, I don't know if I understand that question entirely. Do you mean like if I could make a team of the best 3 or best 5 players? Is that what you mean? Thanks for the follow, Megastar. Much appreciated. So, is that what you're asking? I'm trying to make sure I get the wording right on that question. It's like a team of the best 5 players in NA. Okay. Oh wait, no, you're another one, huh? Not you. Oh. That's a very complicated question. Because basically you're asking me, like, what are the top 15 players in NA? I mean, the top 5 teams in NA and the top 15 players in NA, you're seeing them, the top 5. They're right on the side of the screen there. Those 5 there. Those are them. Like, I would pick players from all those teams, yeah. And I think that's a fair assessment. Let's see. Are you happy about how much RLC views get, or do you expect more? I like where we're at the moment. I think we do pretty well. But, yeah, we need more. We want more. You know? And that's going to come from getting the help or publicity arm to grow. You know? If we can get, you know, Rocket League Twitter to help with that, if they can include it in their client. You know, we've kind of peaked out a lot into what social media by itself can do. So we need more to help drive that, for sure. Alright, did I miss anything? I don't think I did. Oh god, Mike Rules is here. Oh boy. Now things are getting serious. Yeah, we did, I think we peaked out at 3.5K for RLC. I think during Rocket Royale. I don't know if we got that high for Pro League. But that's good. You know, that's great. Very happy with that. But we want more. I'm thinking we gotta break 10K. That's the big goal, right? Gotta break 10K. Hey, Fireburner. Welcome, welcome. Can you advertise a Rocket League TeamSpeak? I don't know. If you could make a team of the best player names, who would you add? It would be... well, the best player names. I don't know. One Smelly Poop. Armagerd. God, I have to try to like think of different names all through my head. I don't know. There's some pretty solid names out there, for sure. Wrong Way Woody is good too, for sure. Okay, so we did do 3,500. That's good. Always good to know. There are some special team names out there, for sure. Special. Oh, that's the official Rocket Dash League TeamSpeak? That's fine. They will definitely be special. Best logo Rocket League. Hands down. Yeah, no matter what, Killer Moosehorn will always have that win over SK. But, yeah, so good stuff there. Anyway. Any other, still doing questions now. Alright. You have a very clever way, very interesting way of asking your questions. You don't have to ping me directly with your questions, you can just ask them in the chat like normal. But the question is translated into decipherable language. Why did they stop Rocket Royale when it's more popular than the current league? Well, for one, it's about as popular, technically. And for two, it's, you know, a money thing. It's expensive to run Rocket Royale. It cost a lot every single week to do that tournament. So sometimes, you know, we did our best to try and fund it and do everything like that, but it's hard to do a weekly tournament with crowdfunding and like donations and stuff like that. Rocket Royale is not dead. It's not gone forever. It's just on the back burner a little bit. We're focusing on Pro League now, and hopefully soon, like I really hope soon, we'll be able to do Rocket Royale again, because I loved it. I always enjoyed Rocket Royale. I know a lot of people want to see it come back. A lot of people. People won't shut up about it. Just kidding. But the point is, we want to bring it back. Hopefully we can do it soon. Just, you know, anything you do, like as far as like if you donate or subscribe to Rocket League Central or contribute financially in any way, all that money doesn't just go into Pro League. It goes to the entire esports operation of Rocket League Central. That includes potentially doing future Rocket Royale or a bigger prize pool in RLC or just more stuff, you know, more stuff in general. So, okay, that's fine, whatever. If you want to keep pinging me directly, that works too. Hold on, I cannot read your name. Hi, Lafutsky. There we go. Do you think Team Rocket can win this ESL? If you play like you did Friday, yeah. Sure. No boost boys? There's a lot of boys in Rocket League. We just watched a tournament with Weed M boys, who just won Gfinity. So, yeah, like I said, if Team Rocket plays the way they the way you did today, then yeah, I think you could probably pull it off. Is it a caster curse when I'm not technically casting it? I know, I meant today. Like, the way they played today is the important thing. Anyway. Yes, there is info about the Season 1 rewards, and I can give it to you. There. Bada boom! Because I just talked about them, so I had the link open. Done and done. What is the possibility of a weekly tournament for not top 10 teams? Well, I mean, here's the scenario with that. Right now, there are 2 tournaments that are open invite. Well, since we're talking NA, we'll just talk NA. ESL. ESL is the premier, you know, it's an open tournament, and the only reason that pro teams or higher level teams play in it is because there's not much other scene stuff to do. So when the esports scene grows, I'm sure we'll see more of that. Beyond that, you know, hopefully we'll get more lower ranked tournaments. There are amateur tournaments and things like that going around, so that helps too. But, you know, we'll have to see what else happens. We want to do a lot more, I'm sure. No, the league peaked out at 3.5k viewers. And that was one particular instance of Rocket Royale that peaked that high. So, plus, this was the first week of the league itself. I'm eager to see what happens during the week, the RLC Pro League Finals. The tournament there, that's going to be legit hype after 7 weeks of play. So let's see. What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? African or European? Have you guys thought about doing an international pro draft? I'd love an international pro draft. I love draft tournaments, period. International, NA, EU, doesn't matter. I like them all. I'm down. Let's do it. International pro draft. Pro draft tournaments are the best. They're fun. And they're just fun. Just fun. Alright, I don't think I missed any questions. I hope I didn't. If I did, feel free to ask me again. Or just ask more questions in general, because it's always good. But, yeah. Cloudfield, we gotta get on that. More pro drafts. More pro draft tournaments, weekly pro draft. He's probably sitting there saying, shut up! We barely have enough manpower to do Pro League, and you want to do more tournaments. One thing I know a lot of people also like to see is a World Cup. Rocket League World Cup. Where, like, basically you play for your country, and only players from that country, respectively, can play. Oh! Well, thank you very much, Kulta. Thank you very, very much for that $10 donation. So much appreciated. I don't know how to say heart, so I'll just say less than 3. It's technically what it was, right? But big thank you. I've gotten a lot of follows here that I've missed out on. Alright, making sure I'm up to date on everything. Yeah, it would be a very interesting thing to see. Like, what players would be on different countries' teams. How big would it get? Like, you know, how... Because it's not like soccer or anything. Louis, thank you very much for the follow. Yeah, it's not like soccer where, you know, there's so many... Or football, where there's so many players in every country around the world. Logitech, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Much, much appreciated. Alright. I don't think there's any... Are there any Brazil Rocket League pro teams or pro players? Because that way, if we get them versus Germany... Yeah, it would be a very interesting concept, but it would take a lot of work to do it right. I think, like, we'd have to see how many teams we could actually fit, like, form from the existing pro player crew. Not even pro, it doesn't have to be pro, but high-level player, obviously. So, I mean, that's the only separation between pro player and not pro player is generally skill. Yeah. Ping is a big problem, but what you gonna do? But someone needs to tell ESPN Esports to put some Rocket League stuff up on their schedule. I'm just saying. From the Netherlands? I think so, yeah. It'd be interesting to see. I would... It sounds like it would take a lot of organization to pull that off, but I would be very interested to see how that plays out. Alright, do you think if Rocket League will put money in tournaments, the tournament will be bigger because more players will play and the tournament will be more fun to watch and play? Well, I mean, you know, yeah, you have a, I assume you mean Psyonix when you refer to Rocket League, like the company that makes the game. Yeah, and I've always said, when Psyonix makes their move and pushes into Rocket League and funds something, that's going to help a ton, because it's an officially sanctioned, recognized tournament. So there's going to be a pretty big deal around that when it happens. Players will play anyway. We've been able to get players to play in everything. Very few players don't play because, you know, there's not enough money in it or something like that. At least none that I know of. So, I do think it would help drive everything up, but yeah, we'll have to see. No, I mean, ESPN has their whole new esports arm now. Like, it's on Twitter, twitter.com/ESPN_esports. So. Team Norfolk. Very specific team you got going there. Alright, I'm going to check. So, yesterday, I asked you all what your thoughts were on the biggest successes. What team you think would be the biggest success of 2013. And I do have a few responses here, so I'll get to that a little later on here. Psyonix is about to make their move. I can tell you that much. I don't know exactly when, and I don't think it'll ever be too late necessarily, but they're about to do it. So, what are my predictions for the RLC Pro League this week? Well, that's a good question. In fact, why don't we take a look at this week's schedule, and we can talk about that. Yeah, there we go. So here is this week's RLC Pro League schedule. This Sunday, here are your matches. Let's go through them all, and I'll give you my predictions for each week of action. So, on the EU side, we got Flipside Tactics taking on Noble. Based off of the performance I saw at a Flipside, and based off the performance I saw at a Noble, I am inclined to say 4-1 or 5-0 in favor of Flipside. You know, I don't know what Noble was doing this week at Gfinity, but they came in and went out in a thunderous boom. That's all I can really say. So, I'm tilting that heavily towards Flipside based off of Friday's performance. On the other EU side, Spectral versus Crown and Jewels. This is going to be very interesting because it's also a rematch from the ESL Monthly Final. I'm probably going to say 3-2 Crown and Jewels in that, though I could also see a 4-1. So 3-2 or 4-1, but either in favor of Crown and Jewels in that particular setup. SK versus Supersonic Avengers. I'm a little hard pressed on this one because I want to say Supersonic Avengers will be able to pull some games out because they had a really good showing. Like 2/3 of their team, of course, was under the header of We Dem Boys during today's tournament. But SK also, you know, had a decent run, but they didn't make it all the way through. So I will probably say SK 3-2 here. That's my guess in that series. NA side, we've got iBuyPower versus Not. I would give that 3-2 in favor of Cosmic, possibly 4-1, but definitely I'd say 3-2 for Cosmic in that series. Nexus versus Orange Creamsicle, and yes, you're right, Quinn Edwin Gambit. Nexus versus OC, I would tilt that 3-2 for OC. You know, whether they're playing with Pluto or with Entrauzes or whoever they're playing with, I don't even know. Or Insolences, not Introuses. That's a little bit different. Kings of Urban versus Failure to Launch. 5-0 or 4-1 for Kings of Urban. Definitely in that series. So, those are my predictions. Well, looks like we got another question in here. Rocket League is a popular game that a very good company can make that move. Yeah, I mean, here, all you need to know is Psyonix is going to be making their move. They are making their move. It's going to be coming. I don't know exactly when, but very soon is the name of the game here. So, soon. Very soon. Not in trousers. But, anyway. Yeah, so, there's my picks for this week. So, I will give my picks for week 3 next week. Alright. Do you think that esports will ever become as big as normal sports? Probably not, but it's pretty big as it is. You know, some normal sports just will consistently blow esport events out of the water. You know, there's just no competition there, but that's fine, you know. The fact that esports is as big and as successful as it is says a lot. So, it could very... I think it's still going to get a lot bigger, despite the fact that it's already, you know, gigantic. But there's a lot of potential there for that, for sure. I'm sure about it because the best reason I can tell you that I'm sure Psyonix is going to be making their move is they hired a guy whose sole duty is to run the esports side of business. You know, why would you hire somebody to run esports if you're not going to make a big move into esports? So, I mean, I think that makes the most sense, right? This room just got very slothy. That's like at least 12. That is, that's some good estimating. That is some spot-on estimation right there. It is definitely at least 12, I'll give you that much. Imposter. Oh, somebody stole your name. Haha. See, if they knew, if anybody who knows Shogun knows that he's Mega Shogun, or Mega Shogun V2, or V4, or whatever the hell V you want to be. I don't know. Keeps changing, but it's always Mega Shogun. So. Somebody said that they were playing against somebody who was using my name, too. If they were any good, then it's clearly not me. That's an easy one. But my name is pretty straightforward. It's going to be SNK Shalthus or just Shalthus by itself. Always one of the two. But, you'll know it's me, because I'm terrible. So, no avoiding that. Alright, you wonderful people. I need another call. What else you got? Any other questions? I've got a new shirt out. Just in case anybody didn't see it. Or hasn't seen it yet. I'm trying this again. But, I did this guy. Speaking of which, I'm still waiting on my Gird Your Loins shirt to come in. I will wear the crap out of that shirt when it comes in. I'm very excited for it. But anyway, yeah, that's a new one that's available. So, I figure if there's any interest in that, there you go. But more sloths? Well, there's plenty of sloths. The sloths all over. So that's not really a question. I can't help you there. But I would like any other questions, really. Any other questions you may have, please fire away. Now is the best time to do it. Yeah, I'm sorry, there are not enough slots on that shirt. But then again, I don't exactly do a lot when it comes to slots. So, sorry. But yeah, I'll do one more call for questions, and I think I'm gonna I'm gonna wrap up here fairly soon. It is sort of late-ish on this end. When am I casting next? I am casting this Sunday for the RLC Pro League. I will be casting starting at 1 p.m. Eastern. RLC Pro League, we're going to be kicking off with the EU games, and then we're going to be doing the NA games. So I'll be casting alongside Shogun for EU and the Pash for NA. So, my first time working with the Pash. I'm actually very excited. I've been looking forward to getting a chance to work with him. So, it's good times. How much would it cost to make a team with me, you, and Cloud Fuel? God only knows. There's no number ones happening there. Who is my favorite member at Rocket League Central? Me. Cloud Fuel, obviously. He's the guy that keeps this ship going. You know? He's a very unsung member of the esports community, because everything he does is all behind the scenes, and all the work he puts in, and the coordination he does, and making sure that everybody's on the same page, and all these events are going smoothly. You know, you don't hear a lot about it, because he's not a big personality in the scene, and that's not his thing. He's the mechanic. He's the architect. So, but yeah, Cloud is awesome. He is one of my favorite people, not just at Rocket League Central, but in Rocket League in general. So, that's an easy thing. Why am I not being paid to do this every day? I'm not risking my time and money. I have a goal in mind. I think that's been pretty clear from the get-go. When I started doing this, I had a goal to become the face of Rocket League. Well, the goal was to become the voice of Rocket League, but I quickly became the face. That was my goal. You know, that was my goal, is to become the face of Rocket League and really own that. And I feel like I've gotten better, closer to that. But all in all, I want to do this for a living. I would love to get paid to do this. I'd love to get paid to go to shoutcast Rocket League events, or to produce video content, or something, anything. But it takes time. You know, I've been at it for 6 months now. Well, technically I've been at it for 3 years, almost 4 years now. But the point being is that I gotta keep going and keep doing it. And I do it also because I love it. So I don't need to get paid to do it, but it certainly doesn't hurt. And that's why I accept donations. So I got that lovely little link down below, just in case you're interested. But yeah, you can subscribe, you can donate, it all helps. Though granted, I haven't seen anything of my subscription money since I started getting people in. It takes a while for them to notice and actually send it to me. So that's fine. Let's see. Yeah, Epic Aerial's still going. I don't know of any other podcasts for Rocket League. There was the one that Seismic and Chewy were doing, but they weren't able to keep that going. I think they're going to start it up as like a web show or something. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Hell. But Epic Aerial is around. EpicAerialPodcast.com. Definitely go check them out. So, yeah. You should. Should do a vulgar, well, not vulgar, but yeah, R-rated podcast. Sounds viable to me. Alright, cool. Well, final call. If you have any questions that you want me to answer about the competitive scene, the game itself, power rankings, the Daily Rocket, the show that I do, or whatever, anything you want, last call, ask them now, because if you don't ask them, I'm going to end things here and just wrap it up for the night. And then enjoy my weekend off. Well, my Saturday off. I'll be back on Sunday, of course, with the Pro League. But of course, you know how I do. I'll have guests. Yeah, I mean the Daily Rocket is just kind of a very, a daily stream that I do Monday through Friday. But I plan to have guests and things like that as they're available and if they want to be on to talk about Rocket League and, talk about tournaments and do stuff that they don't otherwise get a chance to do. So, yeah, I definitely will do that at some point. Maybe I'll have Scrubkilla on as a guest to talk about his successful tournament run in his very young age. But all right. I think we're clear. I think we're good. Fantastic. On my team, technically? Okay. I don't know. I mean, I have no plans for any guest in particular, but that is something I had wanted to do was do guests for the show. So, well, cool. Well, with that being said, I think I'm going to wrap things up for today's Daily Rocket and for today's NA Power Ranking show. So once again, there's your top 10. If you agree with them, disagree with them, leave your thoughts in the comments. Always good to know. I will be back Sunday at twitch.tv/RLC Pro League. No, twitch.tv/Rocket League Central to shoutcast the RLC Pro League alongside Shogun and the Pash throughout the day. So thank you all for tuning in. Thanks again for the follows, donations, all the wonderful stuff you people do. You are all fantastic. Oh, you're Prime. Okay. I need to talk to you, by the way. So I'll follow up to your reply on Steam or wherever. But anyway, signing off now. Thank you all again for tuning in. I will see you all again this Sunday at twitch.tv/Rocket League Central, and I'll be back Monday for the next Daily Rocket. So enjoy, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next time.